What are you talking about, Willis?
It's Fight Mike!
All right, guys, I'm back again. Fight Mike here, waiting for big Justin Willis to jump on, but I got the man himself, the Thug Master, Yves Edwards, joining me on this podcast. Kind enough to talk some things going on right now. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. Just chilling, not too much happening over here. Stuck in quarantine still.
Right, we're seeing a lot of these Zoom calls and these MMA interviews. We're seeing people's bedrooms because everyone's on their computer doing these podcasts and interviews. It's kind of the thing.
I'm in the basement right now, so yeah, it bees like that sometimes.
Isn't this whole situation just weird, bro?
It's weird. It's strange. It's I'm one of those guys I don't trust. I don't trust a lot of people. I especially don't trust the government. It's one of those crazy things where it's like they constantly lie to us. They consistently have lied to us.
Mm-hmm.
And then they expect us to trust them. And people are just like, yeah, you got to trust them. I mean, when Edward Snowden points out that, hey, they're doing criminal activities. They're breaking the law. And that makes him a criminal that gets exiled from the country that he's born in. It just makes me think, again, yeah, I can't trust these motherfuckers.
Man, Justin's not here yet, but I'm going to tell you right now, bro, like just off what you said right now, he's going to love you and this chat we're about to have. He's really on that stuff, man. Like he doesn't trust the government either, and I really don't either.
Why would you?
I know, man. It's just the funny thing is I have some change in my pocket. Kind of the next thing I'm going to get into. Supposedly, I saw some article today that came out. Supposedly, there's some coin shortage. There's a shortage of coins somehow. I mean, I have a little coffee can in my bedroom where I'm collecting coins, but I'm not hoarding a lot of that, man. What do you think the deal's with that?
Okay, so there's a couple of different things where that's concerned. U.S. coin currency, you can use that all over the place. You can use that in the Caribbean. You can use that in Canada, probably in Mexico. I don't know. So a lot of that stuff is probably still overseas. And then the rest of it, Mike Brown. Mike Brown collects coins. And he probably has the rest of whatever is not out of the country is probably in Mike Brown's house somewhere.
That's hilarious, man.
It's the truth.
That's pretty good.
Mike Brown's the problem. I'm telling you. If you can get Mike Brown on the show, talk to him about it. Ask him to release the coin. Release the coin, Mike Brown.
That's funny, bro. Speaking of, where are you currently right now? Are you in Florida?
No, I am in Maryland.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I've been here since just before the quarantine started, and was headed back out to LA, but quarantine kind of slowed my move down, and just waiting for things to get back to some semblance of normalcy before I head back out there. So I had to move the family back out. So,
oh wow, yeah, that's a big move, man. It's crazy out there right now. I'm actually flying out to Sacramento. I know it's not exactly LA, but still California.
Still nicer than most other places in the country as far as weather and climate.
Right, man. Crazy, man. So, did you catch any of these fights that happened? In particular, the Mike Perry versus Mickey Gall. Did you check that one out?
Yeah, I Mickey used to be a roommate of mine. So
okay.
Mickey lived with me in LA for almost a year, I believe. Before we both had to leave. Well, not had to leave, but we both decided to leave. Now we train together, Mickey, myself, Joe Schilling, and I was really rooting for him in that one. Mickey's a really, really good grappler, and he really worked on his striking with us. He got a lot better in that department. I know Mike Perry has some power. I did not know about Mickey's chin, so it's nice to see that he could withstand some big shots. But Perry looked good, man. He took advantage of the grappling situations when he could, and also showed some real skill down there. You know, Mickey was trying to escape that back control. Perry wasn't going to be able to keep it, so he moved to the mount. You know, just kind of out grappled who I think, and I still think Mickey's the better grappler in a straight grappling situation. But Perry definitely showed his skills, and I'm a Mike Perry fan for sure. You know, same thing with Dan Hooker, but Dustin Poirier and Mickey Gall, those two guys are good friends of mine, so I always root for them.
What do you think of the whole girlfriend in his corner type thing, Mike Perry? You think he was just kind of just like playing that up so you kind of underestimate him, or no big deal since nobody's really training like full go because of the quarantine?
No, I mean these guys that are stepping in the cage, they're going hard. Like I guarantee you, like they're training full bore. You know, nothing really changes in the gym for someone that wants to compete at this level. But as far as Mike Perry's girl in his corner, I really don't think it matters. He showed a wide variety of skills. You know, he hits hard. He put punches together well in that fight. But then, again, in the grappling situations, he out-grappled what I think, again, is a better grappler. So having his girlfriend in the corner definitely didn't hurt him. I'm sure the UFC played it up a bit. And he wanted to play it up, too, because it gets more eyes on him. And that's how you make money in this game, man, you know, getting the eyes on you. So the situation is Mike Perry seems to want a camp that he believes is all about him, or at least puts him as a priority. And I can understand that. I don't know why the situation fell apart with the last camp that he was in, but you know, I wish him the best. I want to see him do well, and I think he's learning some things through this process also. So, you know, I wish him well, and I hope things work out well for him.
He was talking about maybe he might end up over there at ATT in Florida.
It's a good place. It's a really good gym. There's a lot of good coaching in there. Mike Brown, again, one of the best coaches. Dean Thomas is no longer there, but that's also a place that he could look going. You know, someone that could really help his game. There's a lot of places around the country that he can go. I thought to myself, man, I'd like to try and train. I'd like to train Mike Perry. I think he has a lot of potential. You know, he has a will to win. He has a drive. He has this thing in the heart that you can't teach.
Right.
You know, technically he's not the best, but he has good technique. He's just not as refined as he could be. And with a guy with that kind of power, a guy with that kind of attitude, if you could get him to a state of mind, say like a Dan Hooker, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, you know, that attitude about fighting, the sky's the limit for a guy like that, man. He has some talent, he has some skill, but I just really think he's really unrefined right now.
So if he came to you and you had to train him for a couple weeks, as far as like what you're seeing, as far as like his skills, what one thing would you think you would like focus on with a guy like that?
I would focus on his technique and his striking. It's not that it's bad, but he believes, it's kind of like he believes too much in his power. So he looks to land big shots all the time. And I would work on setting up the shots, setting up traps, his footwork to get guys to move the direction that he wants them to move in so he can land the big right hand or the hook. And also work on angles with him. Guys with a lot of power like that, they like to come forward. They're kind of like a bull. And all you have to do is sidestep to get out of the way. So working on angles with a guy like Mike Perry, that gives him a lot more offense. And when you can hit those angles, you get hit. The opponent gets hit with shots that they don't see. When a guy with that kind of power can hit you with something you don't see, you're going. If you're not going to sleep, you're going down.
Yeah, he was. I think it was on Ariel's show yesterday. I think he was talking about a matchup between him and Nate Diaz. He thinks his power, he thinks he would knock him out. What do you think if he was to match him up with somebody like Nate? Because Nate's more technical, obviously, standing, and he has that chin. I see what the face that you're making.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I think it would be interesting, but I think I don't know where Nate is right now in his career as far as his durability. Like Nate's a really durable guy, but he's taken so much damage over the years, and he didn't look Masvidal can make anybody, not anybody. Masvidal can make a lot of guys look like he made Nate look. So
Yeah.
I don't know if Nate is on the downslide as far as his durability. His skill set's going to still be strong. But if he's just as durable as he always has been, it's going to be interesting for a while. But I see that fight going just like Nick and Paul Daly.
Yeah, you're probably right. He might come out hot, catch him with some, but he's going to stay right there, and then probably just a succession of strikes, right?
I've sparred with Nate and Nick, and they put that volume on you, and they mix in power in there. You don't really see it when you're watching it, from the outside, but especially when they go to the body, they'll just pep, pop,
right in the stomach.
You know, they do that well. They stay on you, and they can take damage, so they can stay in front of you. You know, you try to break their combination with something big, and that's something I feel like a guy like Perry would do right now. Nate is throwing a combination on him, and he just lands a big shot and expects Nate to go away, but he doesn't. You know, and that volume starts to frustrate you, starts to wear on your cardio, starts to bring you down, and then also constantly digging at the body just slows you down. I think it would be similar to Nick and Paul Daly. But that depends on if Nate is still as durable as he's always been.
Look who's joining us. Can you see who's right there?
Yeah. What up, guys? How y'all doing?
I had to start this thing without you. I couldn't keep my man Yves waiting. So
it's okay.
But,
how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, my friend. I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm great, man. How you doing today, Mike?
Man, not as great as you. I see you got a little trimmed down, but got the haircut.
Oh, a little bit, looking kind of nice. What's
Sound
up,
good?
man? How you doing, Ease, man? I'm really excited to speak to a pioneer, man.
I appreciate that, man. I'm doing well. I'm almost jealous of your haircut, but I'm like, you know what? This is the longest my hair has been since 2000, so I'm gonna keep letting it go. I can't let you see it yet. It ain't right yet.
Hey, you guys continue the conversation, and I want to catch up, man. My bad, guys.
No, so basically we were just talking about Mike Perry a little bit.
Okay.
He used to room with Mickey Gall. We're talking about kind of like a technical breakdown of Mike Perry. We're talking a little bit about Nate Diaz, your boy Masvidal. And then we got a little bit into like this government talk, but I kind of wanted to wait until you got on because I told him how you're the G. Yeah. You're the G when it comes to that. So, man, I guess we can kind of just go from there. So I mentioned to Yves a little bit ago, there's some article that came out. It's all over the news. There's supposedly a coin shortage. Yves thinks that it's Mike Brown's fault because he hoards all this change. But I want to know what you think about it, man. You think this is another fake thing that they're trying to convince us is happening? I mean, who hoards coins, bro?
So they're saying that right now there's a coin shortage. What's the punishment of that?
I don't know, man. I think it has something to do with trying to direct, something to do with maybe going towards the
cashless.
Yes,
the cashless currency, man. Yeah, man. So what you think about that, Ease, man? What you think
about cashless currency?
Yeah.
I mean, we're pretty much there right now, you know.
Yeah, man.
PayPal, Zelle, and all these different apps. The only thing is, like, cash is king, man. And I don't we're a long way from getting rid of cash entirely. Even with the next generation. I mean, I just had a daughter, and she like Zelle and PayPal and those types of things, like that existed before she did. So as far as she knows, that's the way of the world. You know, as far as she's going to know, that's going to be the way of the world. But I'm definitely going to make sure that she knows cash is king. Make sure you have some of that handy all the time, because people cannot walk away from that.
So do you think it's going to revert back to, let's say, people actually starting to collect gold and silver and the real cash of real kings? You know what I'm saying? Because if we talk about paper money, like, you know, in the day of like let's say the Great Depression or what happened in Germany, you know, at one period of time, people were wiping their ass with dollar bills.
Yeah. I mean, that's
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Like,
No, I completely understand that. I like this is all what do you say? It's all fabricated. You know what I mean?
yeah. Bam. Yeah.
It's an illusion. It's an illusion.
Yeah.
This dollar, the value of a dollar is it's a symbol. That's what a dollar.
Yeah.
That's what a dollar bill is. That's what $100 bill. It's a symbol of something. It's not a real thing. We give it credit, but
Yes.
it really isn't. Like holding on to the gold, silver, resources. That definitely is how you stack your coffers, man.
Yeah. And artwork, these are things that when I have conversations with youngins dollars, right now is popular, like Bitcoin. I'm not really a big fan of Bitcoin because like a light, because it's
just wipe that out.
Bam.
I don't trust it. I have a problem with that. I have a problem with any. I have a problem with bank accounts that the government can have access to.
Yes. Yes.
Like, first of all, I was telling Mike, you can't trust them. I first of all, I don't trust them. I don't.
Yeah.
When like my classic example, my primary example is when Edward Snowden comes out and tells the world, hey, the government's lying to you and they're committing criminal acts, and now that dude is an exiled criminal who can't come back to the country he was born in, And then I have smart friends that tell me, well, yeah, but he should have gone about it in a different way. What the fuck are you talking about? He should have gone about it a different way.
I hate it when people say you're telling the truth, but you can do it a different way so more people will listen. Come on, man.
Yeah. Like the truth. They don't care. The truth don't give a damn about your opinions of it.
Right.
It just exists.
Yeah, man. But yeah, it's the truth. So I think that whole Bitcoin stuff, it's a wave, right? It's a wave when people figure out how volatile and toxic it can truly be, and how, again, all you got to do is turn off the light switch, the internet goes off, you don't have Bitcoin.
Yeah, and then who's holding on to whoever's holding on to the gold and silver, they're the kings and queens of the world then.
That's it, that's all. That's all. That's why they're doing all this cash for gold and all this kind of stuff. They're doing it on purpose. They always do this when the government starts going broke.
Yeah.
These type of movements become big. I like to look at trends. And the trend is, Great Depression, what were they doing before the Great Depression? They were collecting gold and silver. Yeah. What was Hitler doing before they broke down? He was taking out teeth, collecting artwork, you know what I'm saying? Again, collecting gold and silver. And again, we're having this big shift again. It's very interesting.
Resources are the key, man. That's tangible.
Yeah. So I want to ask one question to you, man. I've always wanted to ask you one question because I'm a guy where I came from AKA going to ATT, and you can keep it 100 with me, all right? What is your favorite knockout of all time?
Oh, man.
Keep it real.
That one's hard. I love knocking out Josh for sure. Absolutely, okay. 100%. Like I do love that. But I don't know, man. It's between him and Edson Berto. I have like
that was a great knockout too.
Yes.
Yeah, bro.
Like I love them both. The thing where Josh is concerned was there was this round table and there was 12 people on this round table. Ryan Bennett had a show back then, and everybody except Ryan Bennett picked Josh Thompson. So like that was fun. That was nice. I'm sure he was the favorite. And then when I go back and I listen to the commentary, I feel like Rogan felt that Josh was going to win that fight. Josh was the bigger guy. I think Josh was also undefeated at the time. So
he was on a hot roll.
Okay. I've knocked a lot of O's off of people's records, man. Josh Thompson, Cody McKenzie, a couple other guys, so I like taking those away,
Yeah. Hey, the timing though. Because I remember this is when I was first getting into fighting, and so I was really, I was a student. I'm still a student, but that's when I was like eyes wide open, and the timing on that was divine. It was one of those ones.
That's
one of those ones.
That was something that I tried to drill into my students back then. That off of breaks, just fire the kick. A lot of times you can fire to the leg, and it's very hard to defend, but Josh was a strong guy. He was kind of muscling me up, and I was having a hard time controlling him. So on the break, I was thinking to myself, this is what went through my head. This is literally what went through my head. I'm going to throw a head kick, and I don't care if he blocks him kicking through his fucking forearm. I promise you, I'm kicking him so hard. And that's why my foot came out from under me, because I was putting everything into the kick, nothing into my base. And it landed.
Beautifully.
Man,
Thanks, man.
One thing I noticed about you, a lot of your fights, people told you this, you're real sudden with a lot of stuff that you do, a lot of your strikes. People ever told you that?
I feel like I've heard that before, but it probably was years ago, because I'm old now. I'm not so sudden anymore.
I'm probably older than you, bro, so it's making me feel old.
I don't know.
I'm going to stay quiet.
Go ahead. How old are you, Mike?
42, bro.
No, you're not older than me.
Oh!
I think it was 43 or 44.
Was that?
43 or 44.
Yeah, 76.
Yep. Did my research, yeah.
I'll be 44 later this year, so yep.
It's all good.
This is my 44th time around. So,
crazy.
But it's all good. I appreciate that though. Sudden, I remember those days when I was sudden. But sometimes that was just a surprise, it's things you wouldn't expect. I don't feel like Josh expected that kick, Berto didn't expect that knee. There's quite a few guys that I dropped with things that you just don't expect. It kind of surprise people sometimes.
Yeah. I have a question that I like to ask, especially martial artists that are as accomplished as you are. And I think that a lot of young fighters, want to hear this type of stuff. When did you know that it was time? Being a retired guy now, when did you know and realize that, your time, is done?
Honestly, it was my last fight, because in the gym, things are absolutely the same. The work is still hard. I still feel good. I mean, you are wearing pads or whatnot, but the shots, they weren't as devastating as they were in competition. But in my last fight, I remember squaring up with my opponent, circling, and then I remember a flash of thinking of my hands hitting the ground and my butt hitting the ground, and thinking, how the fuck did I get down here? This is off. And then I remember being up against the fence. And I've only watched this fight once, so my memory is still of being in there rather than watching. But I was up against the fence, and there's this technique that I used to throw a head kick as a defense, and I did that, and I feel like I didn't really commit, but somehow I got knocked off of my feet or tripped, and I think my head hitting the mat kind of stunned me also, because the next thing I knew, I was in an armbar, and I thought I was in an armbar drill. I didn't realize that I was in a fight. I was somewhere else for that second. So after all of that in a single fight, I'm just like, that's probably a little beyond its time, So it kind of sucked. It kind of hurt to have to walk away from that.
So you're basically saying like your brain, your consciousness was like no longer in that type of war realm, because you know how it is, man.
Yes, like war. I mean, everything gets old, even if you still love it, And war gets old for the body, even if the heart still wants it, the body the brain can't necessarily handle it. So I had to walk away from that. It's still disappointing. I still train, I still spar, because I'm not trying to be the best in the world anymore. My conditioning's not the same, so sparring is not as often, and I get tired a lot quicker. But even in those sessions, like I still get hit with shots that seem like they should put you down, and I'm still walking through them. But it has to do with actually being in competition. That changes levels. That makes it a little different.
Yeah.
Another thing we were talking about is Mike Perry possibly going to ATT. You heard about that, Justin?
Yeah, I have.
So Yves and I were talking about that. What do you think about that?
I mean, anybody's welcome. I'm just I'm the new booty over here too. So it's ATT. When I'm learning about ATT, it's like a one-stop shop. So and that's one thing I really appreciate So I think a guy like Mike Perry, if Mike Perry actually got some, some real coaching, some real structure, he found somebody who can actually direct his energy. I think the guy's potential. I mean, I don't know what his ceiling is. I don't want to put that. I don't want to put a ceiling on anybody. But I know that he would be a better fighter. He's a pretty good fighter as it is. I feel like if he had that right direction, he's going to need a person like Yves right here, somebody who's been in there, who has the experience to keep him in check.
That's right.
Yeah, and being in that environment at ATT, like say I was there coaching or having like a guy like Mike Brown, and then on top of having somebody who's been there, done it, and knows what it's like, having a lot of other people around that are doing it currently. They're like being at ATT, you will see some guys who, they just show up to practice and they work hard in practice, but they don't do the extra things. But the guys that are successful, Masvidal, Dustin, when Robbie was there with us, those guys, they do the extra work. They do the things outside. I'm sure like there's a lot of guys in there still doing that, so that those are the people that Perry needs to be around just to see. And then I think you'd get an idea of if he's willing to do that, because that's what it takes. You can't, like a lot of people think, they signed their UFC contract. They made it. I mean, the UFC, bro, like you just now getting started. That's that literally is like graduating from college and getting your degree and then just celebrating and thinking the rest of your life is set. You're straight. No, like when you make it to the UFC as a fighter, that's the equivalent of graduating from college if you're going into a professional career. Now you're getting started. You have to build your business or build your brand or build your company or build your reputation so that you can lead a company. You can have, the kind of career and the job that provides you with a good life. But like signing that UFC contract, man, that's just the beginning.
Yeah. Especially if you don't really have your own brand, you know what I mean? So, because again, if you have to depend on them for building your brand and building all this, it's going to be really, really hard to make it. And that's one of the mistakes that I can admit that I made is now I'm learning about branding. I'm learning, you know what I'm saying? Never too late, but, it's one of those things where I wish I had these type of conversations before that, actually learned that we should be branding. We should be creating our name outside, building passive incomes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Me too.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
It wasn't a thing in my day, I mean, the sport wasn't what it is now. And when it got to this level, I still didn't understand it. I'm just now starting to understand it a bit. But it's the UFC, I think if you parallel the UFC and mixed martial arts to another professional sport, let's go with the NFL. I would say right now, the state of the UFC is like the NFL in the 70s.
Yes, 100%.
Sounds about right.
There's still guys who have to, have a side job, have a job in the off season. The lineman is still working at Home Depot in the off season. At Ace Hardware. Sorry, before with Home Depot. But that 85 strike hit, and things changed. And I think that's where the fighters have to go, especially guys in the UFC. There's some 100%. Guys making money, but when the revenue share is like 85-15, that's crazy.
Yeah, 85-10. Yeah, so 85-10, whatever. If it's not 50-50 or 49-51, we can deal with that. But right now, with it being such drastically in the owner's favor, that's slavery, man.
Yeah, it's all kinds of slaveries, from slavery to, I mean, it's even digital slavery when you talk about these fighters don't even own any percentage or a part of their fight. They fight, they get paid that show purse, and that's another thing. I hate that show and win purse at this point in fighting. That like if I sign a contract for 80 and 80, like that $80,000 $50,000 on the other side is not an incentive for me to not get my ass kicked. The fact that I signed my name on the dotted line is the incentive right there. Like
Yes.
that, I've never thought to myself, okay, I got to get out of this choke because then I'm only going to get half the money that
Yeah.
that I can earn in this thing. So these guys, I really at this point, I really hate that show and win purse thing. I think that's sorry, I'm starting to get angry about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the whole digital slavery thing, like they own those videos, they own those videos, and
Yep.
and you get nothing from it, but you get your show purse and your win purse potentially, and that's it. They can play
Yep.
that thing anywhere. Like, let's
Yep.
imagine there's some huge studio wants to do a movie and about, let's say, Dustin Poirier, right? And
Yeah.
and they want to profile that fight with Dan Hooker. So they actually
Yeah.
want to use footage from that fight to put in the film. Like, they're gonna pay the UFC from that. You know how much money Dustin gets from that?
0.
Yeah, if any. Like so that kind of thing. It's just so one sided that like when and I have a SAG membership.
So do I.
So when you those residual checks, those are nice, man.
Yeah.
It's like
Those
it's
things
having
are nice.
Christmas multiple times a year, bro.
Yeah, and
Crazy.
I feel like when these fights are rebroadcast, on television, after it's been aired, these guys should get like
Yeah.
when you work on a TV show,
Mhm.
you get paid for the initial broadcasting and the initial filming. But like when that plays again
Get
over
paid
the
again.
summer or whatever, you get like 80% of what you got paid the first time.
Yeah.
So but like when you fight, you have an epic fight like Dustin just did with Hooker. Those two guys, they got paid for that fight. And next week or next month, when they play that again on ESPN for whatever reason, they get nothing.
Crazy. And you heard about the whole Sean O'Malley coming out saying that he got paid $3,000 for his last fight from Reebok, and he said that his merchandise
Merchandise.
made over $1 million.
And he got 0
oh.
off that, right?
He
Oh, he
got
got
$3,000. $3,000.
But he didn't get
That's like
off the merchandise.
0.003%.
Yeah, something crazy.
So that yeah, that's ridiculous. But that's like another thing. That whole Reebok deal, that's a one-sided deal. Fighters to be stepping in the cage, and the UFC is the UFC gets the money and they decide who gets how much when. Like it's I remember when that deal happened, and Robbie Lawler at the time was was a champ, and he had a Nike sponsorship. You know what I mean? Like how can you force him to have to wear Reebok when his like it's his money? Yeah, you have the cameras and whatnot, but like it's his life on the line. His health is on the line. He's risking everything for you to make some money, and you're still exploiting him to that level, man. Like that bothers me. That bothers me to no end.
Yeah. Yeah, they did Robbie because Robbie's he seems like a team player. So they treat guys like that the worst. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I get upset about some of these matchups and things like that, like BJ Penn and Yair Rodriguez. I don't like fights like that. I understand these young, and some of that's on BJ for actually doing that. But like as a fighter, you like, what do you mean somebody can beat me? Like that reminds me of that the scene from Higher Learning when Omar Epps,
one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, when Lawrence Fishburne was asking Omar Epps if a guy has better times than him, like are you not going to run? No, you're going to run harder. So it's like as a fighter, it's the same thing. You don't think anybody can beat you. Yeah. You're gonna always step up to it unless you're a punk. Like you don't not take fights. And so when they want to put a spotlight on Yair Rodriguez and they offer up a guy like BJ Penn who's done so much for the sport and for the company.
Yeah, man.
It's like, man, because everybody knew how that was going to turn out before it turned out, except Beto. You know?
Yeah, yeah. And I hate how like guys like Dana White, how they like no matter what, they built this narrative about themselves where they're always without guilt. Right? The fact that he's ripping off all the fighters, he's without guilt. You know, they signed a contract. I mean, yeah, because you tell them if they don't, then they're out of here. You know what I mean? So you put them in a hostage situation. Right?
It's a really messed up dynamic, you know. And if fighters like there's some guys who are above it, you know, Connor, John Jones, you know, some people like that. There's some guys who have.
They even tell John Jones you retire. If you don't want to fight, just don't fight. Your career just over.
Yeah, see, I don't like at this point in my life, like I don't work like that. Like I just can't bring myself to be controlled. You know what I mean? So it's like one of those situations where I'm the kind of dude that's like, if it's the truth and some judge strikes a gag order on me, I'm like, you can't stop me from telling the truth. Like, that shit ain't happening. I don't care. If you're going to put me in jail for telling the truth, then you're going to kill me for telling the truth. This ain't a place I want to live anyway, so let's go. You know?
100%.
So that's kind of where I am. Same thing. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't care if I want to be done with this contract. That should not be one-sided either, you know? I don't remember what the contract says. I'm sure I have some in my old emails, but if the fighter wants to walk away from a UFC deal, that should be a two-way street. If the UFC can cut you at any time, fighters should be able to say, yeah, I'm done anytime.
Yeah.
Yep. But that's literally a slave deal. You know, that's what makes it oppressive. That's literally I mean, everything is pointing towards oppression, but you know, again, they built this narrative of like, you know, you're a voluntary slave.
Yeah.
So we're the ones on TV. We're the ones that people want to watch. You know what I'm saying? Like. So you have to give more respect to those people. But at every infancy of every sport that has and had, the original owners, they're trying to siphon off as much money as possible before the inevitable happens, and they have to do profit sharing.
Yeah, and then they also like not only try to siphon it off, but they also try to block the progress of the parties that want to be treated fairly. You know, like blocking unions and trying to block fighters from starting unions and try to dissuade them at the very least. You know, if they're not publicly blocking them, they try to dissuade it. So it's like, because that SAG union, Mike, tell them that SAG union, like, they can suck sometimes, but man, like they
really take care of you, bro.
They take care of you.
So what do you think about the whole MMA, FA, AFA, the union that, you know, there's a few that are starting off. What do you think about that and the progress that they are, if they're making progress?
I don't know if they're making progress, but I support that. I want. I don't necessarily know all the details of their plan. That is something I would want to research. But that's something I support in the sense of I'm fighters first. I'm always going to be fighter first. If I were to put a promotion together, I'm still going to be fighter first. And if it's like, oh, this shit ain't going to make me any money, like, I don't need to have all the money in the world. If I can put on a good show, make enough money to put food on my table and keep a roof over my family's head, I don't need the rest, you know? So I'm always going to be fighter first. And if it doesn't make sense, then I just don't do it.
Yep.
Big fight coming up that I wanted to ask you about, Yves. Usman against Burns. I know Big Purdy and me, we broke that one down. What do you think about that one?
I like the fight. I think going in, Usman should be the favorite.
Yeah.
But I mean, these are two guys that have worked together. This is a guy that Burns, I believe he looks up to in the sense of, I feel like Usman was the leader of that team when they were the black. He became the leader throughout them becoming the Black Zillions, and then moving to when they split up and Henry started his own place. I feel like Usman was the leader of that crew. I talked to Burns a couple times about it, and he's, you know, he wanted that fight. This was before the Woodley fight. He wanted the shot at the title, and he's like, you know, if it comes to that, then we'll talk about it. But I want that shot at the title. I think this is a respectful thing, a call out, and I completely understand it. When you want to be the best in the world, and your brother is, it's like, well, I'm not going to try to kill you, but I'm going to try to beat the shit out of you. So, like, let's do this. I respect that. I'm sure that he learned a lot from Usman. Especially going into that Woodley fight, because the fight looks very similar. They came from two different backgrounds, one jiu-jitsu, one wrestling, and they both won the fight convincingly over a guy who's powerful guy, good striker, great wrestler, and they both made him look very similar. So I feel like they've worked a lot together, and I don't know about Yas Island. I wonder if that's what the fan situations are going to be like. How many people are going to be in attendance? Because I feel like because they've trained together so much, if they would have had this fight in Apex, like, is that going to make them feel or act as though they did in the gym because the environment is so subtle, or not? But this fight's really interesting to me because of that. It's not like Rashad and John Jones, because there's no beef there. There's no anger. There's no animosity. It's not like Woodley and Robbie Lawler, because Woodley and Robbie, they trained together years before that fight, and then maybe occasionally after Robbie joined American Top Team, you know, but they weren't together every day like Usman and Burns. So that interests me. Everybody in that gym knows how they feel this fight should go because they've seen them a bunch of times. But, you know, we got practice heroes and we got warriors that step up. And I feel like both of these guys step up, and they probably step up in practice too. So I don't know how it plays out. I think Usman should be the favorite. If you ask me, I would like to see Usman get his hand raised. But I wouldn't be disappointed if Burns is the one that wins it. That's one of those fights, man. If I'm going to put money on it, I'm putting it on the underdog regardless, just because I have no idea what the outcome is going to be. I think both guys have a good enough shot, but I do think Usman should be the favorite going in.
Yeah, I think psychologically, I don't know, especially when you train with a guy over and over again, and I'm sure that Burns was usually the person helping Usman more so because Usman's been in bigger fights, more bigger fights. And so I don't know if they've ever faced each other as each other, like on a regular basis.
But here's the thing where that's concerned. Because I've had that experience, right? I'm getting ready for a fight. I don't remember if it was Cody McKenzie or not, but Cody McKenzie was a southpaw. Robbie's getting ready for a fight, and he's getting ready for Johnny Hendricks. Johnny Hendricks is a southpaw. So just having that look in front of you, Robbie's not going to try to be Cody McKenzie, and I'm not going to try to be Johnny Hendricks because I got a fight coming up, you know?
Yeah.
So those situations do happen, even though the focus for a lot of the camp is on Robbie because his height is a higher profile. When we're in there, nobody's asking me, well, Hendricks does this more often. Would you try to take more shots and do it? Because, like, if you ask me, I'm telling you no. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm fighting my fight, and I'm just going to try and get better against a good southpaw. So it's one of those situations. And I feel like that would be the same for those guys. But in the situation where Robbie's fighting Johnny Hendricks and I'm not fighting anyone, You know,
Yeah.
I'm going to try and press and tie him up more and wrestle a little bit more and things like that. But yeah, it's a different situation. That's got to be really, really fun for the
Interesting.
guys who train with them, you know,
Yeah.
to watch that fight live and see what the outcome is when like everything's for real.
If Burns wins, do you think there'll be any reconciliation?
I
You know what I'm
think so
saying?
I think so though because there's no animosity going in. You
Okay.
know, they seem to have a lot of respect for each other. And I've talked to them individually over time, but most recently Burns, and the admiration and respect that he has for Kamaru is legit and it's real. So I don't think that, you know, I think that's reciprocated from Kamaru. You know, I think they put enough time in the gym together. I think they support each other, have supported each other enough that it's one of those things that they may want to do it again, you know, and maybe they won't train together in the immediate aftermath of that.
Yeah.
Because if Burns wins, I'm sure Kamaru wants to rematch, wants a shot at it again. I doubt he would want to be in the same room with that guy working together. But I don't think it's going to be like a fuck you situation.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts.
Interesting.
It's pretty good ones, man.
Well, what do you think, Justin?
Oh man, it's gonna be hard because if Burns wins, does that become his gym then? You know what I mean? Is it like, you know, because the focus is going to change in the gym. The focus is Usman, period, right now. So the focus would be, I mean, you have to, you know, I'm not saying that Henry Hoof would do this like, you know, out in the open, but in reality, you have a new moneymaker. So, you know what I mean? So you got to get paid and the guys got to eat.
I believe Usman is training with Whitman for this fight.
For this fight, I'm talking about would they ever come back? You know what I mean, to Florida, and I think that'd be unrealistic. I think it'll be a switching and a change. And again, I want to talk about the Whitman. That was actually the best move for Usman. That to me, that gives Usman the nod in the fight. It's going there, training with Gaethje. You know, so he's gonna come. He's gonna be energetic. Those two guys, you know, it's like a you know what I mean? So I think that in preparations, you know, getting out of his comfort zone, leaving the state, I think that puts him in a more advantageous position fight night.
I definitely think it changes some things. A lot of the videos, if you look at some of Usman's old videos when he was down in Florida and him getting ready for fights, he was preparing with Michael Chandler a lot of the time. You know, he'd get into like real crazy scrambles with Chandler. And a lot of that was wrestling. But when you look at some of his training videos up in Colorado and with Gaethje, good wrestlers also again, but they look like they just like try to punch each other's face in, punch each other's heads off. You know? So and Usman's striking's continued to get better since his fight with Sergio Moraes, I believe it was.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I think Burns has got some pop too, and if they stand in front of each other, like anybody could go down.
And I think Burns has more pop to be realistic. I think Burns has, you know, more devastating knockout power. But I put the volume on Usman's plate. You know what I mean? The more volume, break you down. He's more that type of guy. And I
think he's more cerebral. I think Burns is a smart fighter as well. But I just think between Usman's technique, his improvement in his technique, and his mentality, and his mind, I think he can put things together a little better on the feet and set some traps even though he's not a classic striker. I think he's smart enough to have learned some things over the time. And Gaethje, he's kind of he's a big punch. He's kind of a brawler, but he can set some traps too.
Yes. And Burns, that's a perfect for Burns. Like that's literally Gaethje is a perfect guy. If I want to say like Burns, because he's going to be wild, he's going to be unpredictable. You know, he does. He has some of the. outline qualities, and it's the same thing even for Gaethje when we're talking about getting ready for Habib. Having a guy like Woodley,
Usman. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Usman. I'm sorry. It's perfect combinations, and I think that those two. I'm really interested to see the outcome in both of their fights.
Yeah, I look forward to that. That's funny too, because I know Usman and Khabib, they're pretty cool too. It's crazy how like you can train with like you're training with a friend to beat another friend.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think the friendships might be over. And we talk about livelihood here. We talk about things that, to me, are really, really important. You know what I mean? Legacy. These type of things. So, I know that this is a profession, but at the same time, this shit is personal too. I mean, a fight is. I mean, you know, I'm talking about, a fight is one of the most personal things that you can actually, do. You know what I mean? In front of the whole world. You win or lose, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those things where that's personal.
Yeah, but there's only so many best in the world, and
That's
you want to
true.
train with
That's
them.
true. That's true. No, you're right. You're right.
When you look at it, where Gaethje and Usman are, they're two of the best in the world, and Gaethje is stepping up to face the best lightweight in the world, and Usman is right now the best welterweight in the world, and he's got to face a teammate who's proven himself to be one of the best. So, like, it's just a situation where it's like there's very few people that, like, yeah, you could train with people who nobody even knows, but sometimes that the psychological aspect of training with somebody who is at that level, who has that level of recognition because of what they've done, that definitely helps your mental going into a fight like that, having been in a 6 to 12 week camp with somebody so tough and going through attrition and finding success, and just being in bad positions sometimes and finding a way to work it out. Like, if you are in a fight, say Gaethje's in a situation with Khabib that's similar, then Khabib's going to move very different from Usman, but whatever. If he's in situations that's similar, it's like, I've been under the welterweight champ in this situation. I'm gonna fucking figure this out. Like there's a part of your subconscious that's gonna feel like that.
Yeah. If Habib can't hold down Gaethje, the fight's over.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
It's that simple. I mean, to me, that's one of those fights where it's very, very simple. And we'll know pretty much the outcome of the fight in the first round. I mean, in my opinion,
I think Gaethje has the best opportunity of winning that fight. I mean, Quinton took that fight on 2 days' notice or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But that wrestling pedigree, I always thought that Gregor Gillespie would be a miserable fight for Khabib. That's one I wanted to see. But Gaethje has that kind of pedigree also, and Gaethje is a better striker than a guy like Gregor. He has a lot more power. So if Gaethje is able to defend some of those takedowns, he doesn't have to defend all of them. He has to defend a couple of them, and he has to get back to his feet a couple of times. And that could change the whole world for Khabib. Those leg kicks are gonna hurt. I think Gaethje might be the guy who has the answer, but if Gaethje beats Khabib, that changes the dynamic at 155, because that poses an opportunity for Dustin to get a rematch. Dan Hooker is right there at the door with those guys. I feel like Gaethje dominated Ferguson, and Ferguson's going to have to make a lot of adjustments, but he's going to still be in the mix, and then Connor's right there. Connor's going to jump back in the mix,
Yeah.
So it's a bunch. There's I love Khabib. I love the undefeatedness of Khabib, but I also like the possibilities that Gaethje becoming his champion can bring to the lightweight division, because there could be a scramble. It could be like the women's 115 pound. After Joanna lost, then you saw that belt get handed around a little bit.
Yep.
We could see that.
Yep. I think Gaethje, just his pedigree is going to give pedigree and mindset. I think it's going to give Habib a a run for his money, man. And again, if Khabib can't hold him down in the first round, and we're talking about for more than a minute, right? So if he could start stacking minutes, that's when Khabib gets really dangerous, right? So but if he can't stack minutes, then it's going to be a long night for him, man. Because the way Gaethje kind of strikes, he's a pressure guy. I don't see him really changing up his game all that much. He's working on his wrestling. Obviously, he has Usman, so he's working on his wrestling. But I just don't see him backing up too much. That's when Khabib becomes dangerous. You're backing up, or you're waiting, right? That's how I got caught up with Blades. You're waiting. If you wait for these guys, they get comfortable. Period. When those guys are just specialized in wrestling, and they're really only dangerous going forward. So you really have to keep the pressure up. And if Gaethje can do that, it'll be a long night for Khabib, bro.
Yeah, Khabib. I mean, he's competent on his feet, but he's not excellent.
No, yeah, he's junior varsity and compared to Gaethje on the feet.
Yeah, agreed. And that's why I think Gaethje has such a good shot.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that fight. That like Hooker and Poirier was the fight I was looking to the most, and now that's happened. This was the number 2 fight for me. I mean, I'm interested in fighting. It's the world title on the line, but like Hooker and Poirier are my 2 favorite lightweights, and they really delivered. I hope the Khabib Justin Gaethje fight delivers at least what we look forward to. It's having those questions answered. Gaethje's wrestling is enough to stifle Khabib enough that Gaethje can get off with his hands, with his striking.
Yes.
That's the question.
Last question, though, before we let you go. Because I looked at your profile, and so just to get kind of a feel of who you are, what is your view today on the state of the union of Black America? You know what I'm saying? So, like, the whole Black Lives Matter protests, the whole police brutality, and the one question that we can focus on towards the end is, we call ourselves Black, we call ourselves African Americans. When is the onus going to come out to kind of start realizing and people start looking for who we truly are before we were called Black and African American, Negro, Coon, yada, yada, yada? Because we have a history before 1619.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. So it's a little different for me. I grew up in the Bahamas where everybody looks like me, Yeah. My prime minister was Black. My doctor that delivered me was Black. I go to the doctors and they're Black. I lived in 2 countries and I've been in a lot of them. And this is the only country in the world that I've ever had police pull guns on me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, crazy.
So it's one thing. I right now I'm in PG County in Maryland, right? And this is the Blackest community that I've lived in America. And honestly, it's the most comfortable I've felt, I was telling my wife that like as a kid in the Bahamas, I have a little cousin. At the time, I had a little cousin. I was like 12, 13 years old when he was a baby. And in the evenings when he was like, little kids, they like to move. When he would get fussy, we just get in the car and drive around, Here, I feel like that's not the same kind of thing. But I never brought that up with my other children. But like now, I thought about that. I was like, yeah, drive her around the neighborhood in the middle of the night. I'm down to do that to get her to sleep, So the situation is, it's obvious that, for me anyway, that Black people need to be around Black people. Remember they used to talk about separate but equal, right? You can be separate but equal, but not in the same space, right? You can integrate in spaces. There can be a commonality of space,
but like coffee shop.
Yeah, but like where you live, it's very different because it's very different for Black people in the Bahamas than here. Like I was home in the Bahamas a couple months, last year sometime, and on this particular trip, and I was at a stoplight, and I hadn't driven at home in a while, you know, and the light was red. We drive on the left side of the road, and the light was red, and I'm like, I mean, these guys are turning, coming off of the main road. They're turning, so there's no way cars can come this way. Like in the States, if I'm at a red light, I can turn right, you know. So I'm at a red light, I should be able to turn left. This just makes sense. I don't remember the rules here, so I did it, right? And then the cop, drove right by the police station when I did that, and the cop pulled me over, and they tell me to get out of the car over the speaker, and I'm like, all right, whatever. I get out of the car, and he's like, why'd you make that turn? And then he's like, I'm telling him, yeah, because like I explained that to him, and he's like, as I'm explaining, he's like, oh, you didn't think anything. I was like, okay. And then he's like being a little bit aggressive, right? And I'm like, he asked me something else. I was like, man, I'm not answering anything. You already know what I think. Right? But you see what I'm saying? Like, then he looks at me like, oh, he wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna bully you up, because you know what I mean? Like, yeah. It's just a different situation. As a little kid in the Bahamas, my dad, there's this festival we have called Junkanoo. It's on Boxing Day and New Year's, right? Junkanoo, right? So it's on Boxing Day is the day after Christmas. So it starts at like 2 a.m. on December 26th, right? Okay. And my dad bought me this toy gun, and I wanted it was a water gun. And I took it with me to the thing, and there was a cop, and he started shooting at me, pew pew. So I shoot my water gun back at him, right? And it's not a big deal. I come here, literally, I moved to America. I'm in Texas, and I'm 15 years old, and I start training at a kung fu school. This is before the year. This is like 1992, and I'm walking down the street from school. I have nunchucks in my pocket, and those are illegal in Texas, which I did not know at the time, but whatever. Yeah. And this cop is next to is at the light. He sees me, this white cop, and he goes, and I'm like, got your back. Thought nothing of it, you know. My stepdad is from Philly. A couple months later, the movie The Black Panther came out, about the Black Panther Party, and there was a scene in that where this black kid's riding the bike, and the white cop, you know, points his finger guns at him, and I get it. I understood what he meant, and I didn't like, for me as a kid coming from the Bahamas, where I play shootout with cops because I'm a little kid and I had to hide behind my dad's leg or something like that. It was very different upbringing for me. So when I told my dad, I was watching that, and I was like, I just did that with a cop a couple of weeks ago, and my dad from Philly sat me down. That was the first time I ever had to talk. Yeah. And
isn't that crazy that we gotta have these talks?
We don't have that in the Bahamas.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's like, yeah, your parents are always worried about you, you know, when you leave the house, and they want you to come home safe, and they worry that, you know, you get hit by a car or anything like that. But they don't worry. In the Bahamas, your parents don't worry about you getting hurt because you're a black kid.
Yeah.
You know? So that kind of thing.
So that whole separate but equal thing, I think that you're really onto something, because even a guy like MLK, he said that I fear as though I may have led my people into a house that is on fire.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
They used him for that process, and then when he figured it out, they killed him.
And they celebrate him like they loved him all the time now.
Man, he was a terrorist.
Yeah.
He was a terrorist. They viewed him as a terrorist when he was alive. That's just a simple fact. That's a simple fact.
That sucks.
So yeah, it's hard when you know all the things that have happened over time, especially through the government. When you know about COINTELPRO, when you know about the Tuskegee, when you know about even and this one isn't even about race. This is just about who the government is. The Edward Snowden situation. Yeah. When you know about those things, when you know about Greenville, Oklahoma, Seneca Village, when you know about Rosewood, when you know about them bombing like Philly. When I first moved to America, like in the first couple of months, that thing in Waco with the Branch Davidians, that shit happened one day when I was in school, and like Waco from Houston is like 3 hours. And I was like, I didn't know. I was asking people, where's that? That's in Texas. How far is that from me? I was like 3 hours away. It's by Austin. I'm
Just
like,
because they
man,
was doing their own stuff.
just
They was,
because.
they was doing their own stuff, and it wasn't approved.
Yeah. So it's like, it's one of those situations where it's like, yeah, like it's all bullshit. Like I'm sorry, but it is what it is. But when it comes to being black in this country, like, yeah, there's an added, effect. There's an added danger, and the way I believe to remedy that is to is go back and read, listen to, study Malcolm, Marcus Garvey, Pan-Africanism, because together is the only way. Like,
Yeah.
Talk about putting up a wall. Imagine if they put up a wall around Africa. The world would shut down.
Yeah.
The world would shut down. Africa, the richest continent on the planet, has the most poor people. But, like, all the resources, like 70% of the stuff the world uses comes off of the continent. And, like, we have people, like, it's just go back and study some Garveyism. Learn about our history, man. Like, that's what I would. My daughter, she's gonna know our history. She's gonna know everything, things before slavery. She's gonna know about Timbuktu. She's gonna know about Mansa Musa. She's gonna know about about the Europeans coming together and chopping up Africa into like fucking cake. She's gonna know about King Leopold.
Africa is the name of a white guy named Scipio Africanus. The real name of Africa.
I did not know that.
The real name of Africa is called Alkebulan. And you can put the spelling somewhere on the screen. But the real name of Africa is Alkebulan. And when we were picked up, so, we were picked up on the west coast of Africa. And on the west coast of Africa, the west, the west and the southern, down low. And that used to be called Negro land.
Yep.
So Negro land, which then became Igbo land, which then became Nigeria. So, and those people who were picked up from Negro land are a chosen people. I can't say too much besides that, but
I that part of the story I do know. I did not know that the continent was a different. I'm sure. It doesn't surprise me because there's a Lake Victoria in Africa, and I guarantee you that's not the name of it.
No, so it's like Queen Europa. That's a sister. Queen Scotia, Scotland, named after that. That's a sister, right? And so a lot of these places were named after women that these dudes wanted, right? And that's just a fact. You just go look it up. But Alkebulan, that's where we. So there's a reason why worldwide people hate us so bad. This is just a fact. So you're from the Bahamas. That just means that you came at a different bus stop than me.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
I try to explain that to Bahamians all the time too, because like in the Bahamas, Haitians like immigrate to the Bahamas for improve, and I'm just like, bro, what you don't understand is like 100 years ago, 3 generations ago, that was your cousin, that was your sister or your brother. They just got off the boat somewhere else.
That's it. And so, if you have a chance, go read Psalms 83. Read Psalms 83 because I've done all the history and I've broken down. So the one thing that I have to do and I have done is I've matched the biblical precepts to actual factual history. So when you start so if you read like Revelations 2:9, where it talks about people faking like they're Jews but they're not, right? And so you have to understand how did who we view as Caucasians, how did they become Jews in the first place? And so then you have to go back in history and study things like the Khazarian Arab Wars. So then you realize, okay, after the Khazarian Arab Wars, when they beat up the Muslims, they said we have to adopt a religion. And the religion that they adopted was Judaism, that they got from Northern Africans, which are us.
Yeah.
So again, so I think that once our people need to figure out who we were before 1619 and why did they whip it out of us? Why did they rape it out of us? Why did they make sure we couldn't read the books? You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
these are the questions I feel like our people need to answer. And this is one of the reasons why they cut me out of the UFC.
Hey,
I was gonna ask you, Eves. I was gonna ask you. Did you think that was weird, bro? When you first found out that he got cut when he was 4-1, he lost one fight. Did you think that was weird?
I don't know. I don't put any rhyme or reason to the way they run that business.
Bam, 100%. There you go. That is the most factual answer that you could have.
Yeah, there's like Cole, like they can give you tons of examples, you know. But I don't put any stock into trying to comprehend how that thing is ran.
Yeah.
Besides whatever makes money and makes me happy by certain individuals.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like that. You know, we're talking about any type of business in Babylon, right? And so Babylon, I'm saying America, any type of business in Babylon, they're only going to do what helps them bottom line. And they will literally part ways with something that makes them money at the moment because they think that it won't benefit them in the future. That's it. And so like you're 100% right where you can't put any onus on anything they do.
Yeah, and don't fall for Babylon tricks because like it's just it's everywhere. It's like somebody wrote something down on a piece of paper, and now that's the law. Like again with the Edward Snowden thing, it's like that guy's a criminal, and where I think about that is like people talk about legal. People talk about what's legal. Like slavery was legal. Like justice and legality, those two things aren't the same thing, you know. Yeah. And my first duty is to serve justice. So like that's why I say like I'm sorry, but you can't control me. And if justice is the order of my mind, you know, justice is what I serve. If you're gonna kill me over justice, then fucking kill me. But like send who you want, don't send who you want back.
Yeah, for real.
That's how I feel the way that goes. Yeah, it's maddening, man. And I really think like as a group, as a people, like we need to teach the youth about before the 1600s, about Africa, about the continent before the 1600s. We need to teach them about what has happened, like what was taken away. Because if you don't like, I've asked people all the time, if somebody stole something from your father, right? And then they gave it to their child, and their child's running around with it, and he lets you play with it, like, and you think it's great, it's cool. You're fine with playing with it until your father explains to you that used to be yours.
That's yours. Right? Yeah.
Like, how are you gonna feel then? When you know that was supposed to be, I was supposed to give that to you, but they stole it from me. They beat me. They nearly killed me, and they took it. And now I can't give it to you. Like you want that shit back, but like there's a bunch of shit that angers me. You know, there's a couple things like when people talk about the Confederate flag and how they want like that's part of my heritage, motherfucker. That shit lasted for 5 years. 5 years, but you want to hold on to that and talk about that's part of your heritage, but you want me to get over slavery, you know? That shit lasted for.
There's a whole bunch of contradictions, especially today. You know, like it's like this. It's like the whole Black Lives Matter movement. So again, I support my people. I support you 100%. I support my Migos 100%. I support my people 100%. Period. But like when Jesus was walking this earth, he didn't worry about other people's houses. He worried about his own house.
Yep.
Period. This is what they don't teach us. But if you read, it's easy to understand. And remember, the Bible is nothing but God is like the original code maker. You know how they have these tech people that make codes for programs and stuff.
Yep.
God is the OG code maker. That's all. I mean, he's way more beyond that. But I just want people to fathom that. And so, especially when you have it today, where our people, once we realize who we are and come together and actually stop being against our brown brothers, when we brown anyway, right? They just got mixed up in the laundry cycle a little bit with the colonizers' blood. But at the same time, what happens if we come together?
J. Edgar Hoover said,
"Bam,
that quote is everything." You know.
Yes, no
That's
Black
everything.
Messiah. Yeah, that is the greatest threat to the fabric of the American society.
Negro unity.
Black Messiah and Negro unity, right? And so, I wish brothers would start actually coming together and realizing that if we ever came together, there's nothing they can do. And so in this Black Lives Matter movement, I think we should take what Malcolm was saying and actually say, listen, we're going to have our meetings with just us. Kick every other nation out until we can build on our own. Stop trying to build with them.
Absolutely.
We can come,
and
if they want to invest in the company, they can.
We can do that in the community.
There you go.
I mean, everything from the liquor store and the nail salons. They need to like, you think Black girls don't do nails?
Yeah.
You know, Black people buying liquor, Black people can sell liquor. You know, like the laundromat. Why is that not? Why is that in the Black neighborhood but not owned by Black people?
Man.
Why is that money pocketed and taken home to this other community at the end of the night?
Yeah.
That's where all the coins are, Mike.
Yep. Our neighborhood, because we're the biggest spenders. Per capita, we are literally the biggest spenders. So the whole system is created to really appease us, and it's given to us by us. It's just controlled and profited by them. So if we ever say, imagine Dr. Dre, Puff Daddy, Master P, they all said, listen, I'm cool with you, Sony. We all good. If you guys want to, merge a little later on, I'm not merger, break bread, but we're going to start our own thing.
Imagine if all these college athletes went to HBCUs.
Bam.
Only went to HBCUs. Imagine if all these professional athletes, right? Imagine if the National Basketball Association was the National Black Basketball Association.
Yeah.
You know, there's just like there's no Black owners in sport. That's crazy.
Can you imagine if that paradigm shifted and so imagine there's 32 teams and there was 30 quote unquote Black owners and 2 white ones. You think they would stand for that?
No.
That's one thing that I would love for us as a people to do is to build something together and explain, look, like, we're building this, and the only way this is going to get broken out is if they try to. And just point it out. Because, like, just watch. Just continue. Because it's one of those situations where it's like, I'm going to keep calling you on it, so you can't do it, so we can build it. And if you do it, then you've proven me right.
Yeah.
You know?
But you explained something earlier when you said COINTELPRO. That's one of their biggest weapons against us.
Yeah,
it's always
still in effect. I mean, it affects the music industry.
Music industry, and one of our first episodes, me and Mike did. I had a quote unquote white person infiltrate a alt-right group a year and a half ago because because he came to me, he asked me how can I be an ally? Yeah, and I said, well, if you want to be an ally, let me know what they doing. And he literally infiltrated for a year.
Because that's what they do.
That's what they do. And so, and again, I'm always worried about my house, but at the same time, sometimes the art of war is simple. Sometimes you got to understand how they proceed, how their proceedings happen, their policies, et cetera, how they recruit. That's big.
Yep.
How they do the whole agent provocateur, how they infiltrate these movements like Black Lives Matter. So you could be standing next to a white person that hates your guts, but has a Black Lives Matter shirt on just to get close to you. Or what they do is they'll have a brick or a rock in their pocket, and they'll be the first one to throw it at the building to get your movement to look bad.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, especially the way things are now with the quarantine and the lockdown and all that.
Yeah.
There's no. This is why the movement. I believe anyway. This is my belief as to why the movement is as strong as it's ever been right now, because there's no basketball championship, no football, baseball championship happening. There's not even no brand new movies in the theater, right? There's no shiny new keys to distract you.
Yeah. Yep.
So my thing is, we need to come together and set a plan before they make some new keys.
And together, because so in a month, we have a month before the NBA starts, right? And so, but we have to do this together, and people have to realize, and it has to be because they're only given us short windows now.
Yeah.
They didn't know that the whole corona and it would kind of backfire with the thing. I think that their think tanks couldn't really predict it. Now they're trying to get ahead of it. That's why basketball's come back. That's why UFC hurry up and came back, right? And they're trying to have events all the time now, right? That's not by accident. But I think it's time for us to get in one room.
Yeah.
We need to get in one room, and we need to vet that room to make sure there's no agents, right? And you have everybody get together, hash it out, appoint like a council, right? You have a council, so you say, listen, hello?
I'm here. Sorry, my phone battery was low.
But you get a council of like 8 people just to come to have a power structure so that we actually can get to results, because we were complaining about the same thing we're complaining about today 10 years ago, then 10 years before that, then 10 years before that.
Bro, we still fighting for and against what Malcolm and the Black Panther Party were.
Come on.
That's crazy. I want to talk to my mom and my grandmother, because like they grew up in the Bahamas, and I remember apartheid. You know what I mean? I remember it's on the news. I remember watching things about apartheid as a child, right? And when I think about that, I'm like, I understood it for what it was, but only at the level of a 7-year-old.
Yeah.
You know? I want to talk to my mom, my grandmother about that. I want to talk to people who are there and understand the feeling and try to bring that reality to a lot of people, because like I said about my daughter, she's going to grow up with Zelle and PayPal. So like that's the way of the world to her. But like this world now, there's same thing with music, you know, when everybody's screaming about bitches and hoes and niggas and shit, and you like you grow up with that and you think that's just normal, and everybody's saying, like, white people walk around talking, singing nigga, and I'm like, bruh, like not around me.
Yeah.
Like, keep that shit.
I hear Mexicans saying that, bro. Like people that think they're like tight with me, cool with me, like I'm helping them with stuff. As soon as I hear them say that, I'm like, stop saying that, bro. And he was like, no, black people are cool with me saying that. I was like, there's gonna be some that are not cool with that, bro. Don't do it.
Yeah,
absolutely. And like there's people exposing themselves now, and for me, I'm just like I'm not giving any. There's no leeway. Like I'm hardline on this shit. It's like I ain't friends. Like we can disagree about. I've said this to a couple people already. Like we could disagree about a lot of shit and still be friends, but racism ain't one of them.
Yeah.
No.
So, last question for you. So, what about your friends who are other than uh, Brown that are being silent? Do you have any silent friends now?
I don't believe that I don't know. I don't really have any silent friends. I don't have very many friends that are my
Or
friends.
associates that you thought would be more supportive that are not at all supportive. They're just silent.
I don't have any friends that are silent. They're either working. They may not be public,
Yeah.
but they're either working for a greater good that's for everybody, and they understand. They're. I don't have any friends who are not racist.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they're you're either anti-racist or you're not my friend.
Yes.
If you're not,
Okay.
if you don't look like me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know people who work against it. I know people who don't make noise about it, but they do things to help and benefit lesser fortunate people. Like Poirier is an example. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I have people who are vocal about it, like fucking Joe Schilling. You know?
Yeah.
But like, then there are people who like look for some justification in the autopsy report from George Floyd, and I'm just like, yeah, we ain't friends.
Oh, he had to have something in his system. He had
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what that autopsy report was. That's the sprinkle into the crack.
Yeah, bro. Hey, Mike, what about you, man? Do you have any friends that are silent, or associates that are silent in these days?
Man, yeah. I mean, I'm in the Screen Actors Guild, like Yves. So, basically, people all over the place in the film and TV world. I have a lot of people that are connected to me, like Facebook, for example. A lot of shit, dude. Like, both sides.
Yeah.
I see. You know what I mean? And I've
Yeah.
had people that just send me stupid messages, dude. And I'm like, bro, I'm not that type of Mexican, dude. Like, you're going to say that to me, bro, I'm going to fucking call you out on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I see it. Like, me especially, I have a broad, type of following. People that are connected to me being in film and TV. People are saying this. People are saying that. Bro, like, without people saying something directly, by what they say,
Bro,
Yeah.
I screenshot a bunch of shit. I got a album in my phone. It's like, because if I'm gonna go into a situation, like, because I don't see everybody all the time, so it's like, okay, I'm going here, and these 6 people I know are gonna be there. I'm gonna go through this thing and make sure they ain't on that list. They haven't said something that's in this album, because you can forget also. You're not seeing everybody every day right now.
Yeah.
So you're not interacting with them personally. And like, it's one of those things, I'm not getting on the internet and I'm not going back and forth with you over it on the internet. I might ask you a question just to check your answer. Mm-hmm. But like, once I know that's who you are, I got to make a note of that, because like,
that's a good idea. Like a racist law.
Yeah.
Literally. I think that's a great idea. That's a great idea. Everybody out there, make yourself a racist law. For real.
So when this thing's open, you running into people, you can remember who to avoid and who to put in their place and who to deal with a certain way.
Who not to let in your house.
Exactly.
Hey, I'm just gonna have the log. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I remember all them people back in the day that were saying when Trump first got into office, they were really comfortable. People got really comfortable, and now we're in this day and age now where like people who I thought were associates, I'm not gonna say friends. Some of them, there was one that I thought was a friend, but now they're totally silent.
Yep.
You on the log. You in the log now. Hey, before we let you go, man, do you have any Instagram, YouTubes, whatever, man? Plug yourself. And thank you so much for being on, man. Appreciate you, brother.
Thanks for having me, man. My Instagram, my Twitter is Thugjitsu Master. Follow me and my boy Squid. We got an Instagram and our YouTube channel, Thugjitsu Master and Squid Show. So we talk a lot of MMA, a little bit about other stuff too. So check that out. And that's really it. Just kind of hanging in there, and just rocking it. I always rock these cool shirts. I was wearing this shirt in the airport, Justin.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah, that's great. That's a beautiful shirt.
people kind of I love the looks of it.
Where'd you get that? Where'd you get that from?
I'll send you a link.
Yeah, send me a link.
Yeah,
and we'll connect.
Yes, for sure. Yeah,
We'll
'cause
connect.
I'd like to talk to you, and
Yeah.
I'd like to get like some info on some like reading lists, and maybe share mine with you.
I think you should
100%.
come on, man. I think you should come on, more,
Blessings.
bro. Like,
For sure. Hey, bro, 100%.
I think you're in Justin's mentality, the stuff you guys talk about, like your interests. I think you guys are pretty on the same level.
Yeah, man.
I think that's the level. I think that's the base level black people should be.
Because we have to be able to have a real conversation, and a conversation that's open, because there's stuff that I know you know that I don't know, and there's stuff that I know you don't know, right? Yep. And so I think that we, instead of us being so, because Massa whooped us down, our forefathers, our daddies, you know what I mean? Some of our daddies, my dad was kind of,
my dad went to jail beating up on someone for calling him a nigger.
Okay, there you go. You know what I'm saying?
And he's from the Bahamas, but that happened in California.
Yeah. So I think that was generation where we're starting to wake up. Like, we ain't gonna take this, how they want us to take it. And now this generation, we're stuck with it. You know what I mean? They ready, but they have no direction because they don't have these conversations.
Yeah, I can dig it. Needs to happen. Let's do it. Like, stay in touch. Email. Does Mike has my email?
Yeah, I'll give it to you, Justin.
And just email me something or just follow me, Doug Jitsu Master, and I'll follow back.
Yeah, I followed you this morning on Instagram, but I'm gonna get your number too, so we can have a conversation.
Sounds like a plan.
Cool.
All right, brother.
Thank you, Yves, bro. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, you the man.
Thanks for having me, my man.
All right, brother.
Y'all be good and be good to yourself.
Yep.
You too.
Later, brother.